Welcome to the new podcast, In the Garden with Susan. I'm your host, Susan Ladner. I will aim to bring you top quality information on how to save open pollinated seeds, grow a garden, and preserve what you grow. Every Wednesday, I'll be sharing practical tips and techniques to help you on your journey to food security. Join me as I preserve the abundance of produce that my garden provides. Learn new ways of putting food away for the winter and some old ways that are from another century. You can find this podcast on Shopify and at my website. Come on, let's go wander down to the garden and awaken the dreams, history, and love that is held inside every seed. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In the Garden with Susan. And this is take 2. I recorded this yesterday, and it was processing. I'm not sure what happened, if there was some interruption in my Wi-Fi, but it's still processing. So I'm starting to think that it's not going to come up. And so I better do this again. And so not like I don't have a million things right now to do. But I want to make a little announcement before we start. Next weekend on the 17th and 18th, I have 2 events that I will be at. On the Saturday, I will be at the Let It Be Market, and that is in Sycamoose. And so if anyone's in the area, I think they would just love to attend. They have some amazing vendors. It's going to be a wonderful event. And if you're looking for any information on that market, just check out my social media pages, and how to get there will all be there. And then on the Sunday, the 18th, I am at the Grindrod Garlic Festival. And this is a huge event. Like, anyone who lives around this area, they know, like, it's so big that it used to be in Grindrod, which is just down the hill from where I live, and it would clog up the town. I remember I was at the last one that was actually in Grindrod, and there were so many people, and it's right on the highway that takes you to the Trans-Canada. So it was busy. So now it's in Enderby, and I hope that anyone that's around the area can make it to that, because the vendors there are amazing. Also, the garlic. Last year I did a garlic braiding workshop, and this year I actually just have been tying straw flowers. Every day almost, I go out and I collect straw flowers, and I have them hanging everywhere. I think I'm almost ready to start braiding the soft neck garlic with the straw flowers. I hope I can do it. So, just because this is such a massive event, and I'm trying to keep the garden alive. Every morning I go out and I'm self-pollinating squash and cucumbers, and what else and citron. And then I had been pollinating the watermelon, but I have 4 varieties, but I have a lot of watermelon now pollinated, so I think I'm going to stop doing that. So this is what I've been doing every day. And then after that, I have to go and water some of the plants. Not all of them are getting watered. It's amazing that the garden's alive, because some things have never been watered. And then I have seeds coming in, and I'm packaging some seeds for the Let It Be market. And then I'm also getting the garlic ready. And then I have, I'm trying to get the garlic bulbs up on the website. I won't be opening sales for garlic until the 20th on the website. So I know what I have left over after this weekend. I may sell out of garlic. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that I'll have bulbs left over. So if anybody does want bulbs, within the next couple days, I will have them all up on the website, because I have a few people that are interested. And I will just make sure those orders are taken care of before I go to these festivals. But for the garlic, and I do have some orders of garlic, and I've told people I will put those aside for them. However, the majority, I'm not sure what I'll have left over after the garlic festival, but I will be opening up the online sales on the 20th. And so, for anyone for people that have emailed me or anything like that, just know that I will be honoring those requests and making sure that you will have them. I've noticed, because I've been doing some searching, like garlic. I'm sorry, I'm way off on a tangent here, but some of these major companies are, and don't get me wrong, I know garlic is a lot of work, and I'm not saying that, but the price, I've seen some prices of some garlic $45 a pound, $42 a pound, like 35. I know I was in shock because my neighbor, he was asking me how much I was going to sell the garlic for per pound, and I wasn't quite sure. And he said, well, garlic's going for $30 a pound now. And I was in shock because that just seems so expensive. But $30 a pound isn't even like as crazy as some of these places are. And I've seen some seed companies, they opened up pre-order sales at the beginning of the month, and they're already sold out of garlic. So I think this is a good thing. I think it's showing that people are realizing that it's time to be growing their own, because it's getting expensive to buy some of this stuff in the store. And so this is positive that people are starting to grow their own food. So anyway, enough about that. But the reason why I brought that all up, to bring it full circle, the reason for the announcement is that 6 minutes later, let's wrap that up. I won't be doing a podcast next week, just because this actually takes me quite a bit of time. Like, it's almost, there's a day involved in the research and getting the podcast art and just everything, and then recording it. And when I have these little hiccups when things don't work, because it's happened a couple times where I record and something happens wrong with the recording. So next week, I'm going to be in crunch time, really getting everything ready for that big weekend. And so I will be back for the podcasts in 2 weeks. And so we're talking about flowers still. And I'm enjoying the flowers that I have this week, because they're in my garden and I'm looking at them. And so I've been picking some of them off and trying them when I'm out there, either self-pollinating around them, or when I'm in that area. I try and travel a lot of the garden every day, just to keep a heads up on things, like if the insects, like I'm seeing some squash bugs appear. Oh, they're the bane of my existence. I can't believe it. Last year, but anyway, we're not talking about the bugs right now. So the first flower I want to talk about is Arugula Flowers. And this is kind of interesting because I have a perennial arugula that's out there, and it has started to go to seed. And so they can be either small white flowers, the ones I have. I don't know if it's because it's perennial, but they are yellow. And they emerge from the arugula leaves when the plant bolts. And this is typically in warm weather. And they carry a milder version of a peppery flavor typical of the arugula leaves. And this makes them a delightful and decorative addition to various dishes. And so how you can use them in recipes, you can sprinkle the arugula flowers over salads for a burst of color and a subtle peppery bite. You can use them to garnish plates, especially in dishes like pasta, seafood, and even sophisticated pizzas. You can put them in sandwiches and wraps. And so you incorporate the arugula flowers into the sandwich or wrap for added flavor and visual appeal. And you can also blend arugula flowers into dressings and sauces to infuse them with a mild peppery flavor. And some of the recipes I found, there was an arugula flower and goat cheese salad. And then I found a herbed cream cheese with arugula flowers, and you mix the flowers into cream cheese with herbs for a flavorful spread on crackers or bread. And so to preserve them, it's really best to use them fresh. You can put them in a plastic bag or an airtight container lined with paper towel in the refrigerator, and this will keep them for a few days. You can freeze them, although this is not common, and it will probably affect the texture and flavor. It'll have to go into a cooked dish later. And then you can also dry the flowers in a dehydrator or in a warm, dry place. And then these can be used for teas or homemade spice mixes. And I don't know how much I'd be into an arugula flower tea, but people love arugula. I love arugula. I think either love it or you hate it. But putting it into a homemade spice mix, that sounds pretty good. And so another flower I have here that's coming out of a veggie are broccoli flowers. And when these plants bolt, they produce a lot of flowers. And I've always just sort of looked at that. I just see that as seed. But you have some plants bolt, like who knew this? This is quite an amazing plant. So for food security, there's something to do with these plants when they're flowering. And so they're actually quite delightful to use in various dishes. And they have small yellow blossoms that come out of the broccoli plant. And it offers a mild, sweet flavor reminiscent of broccoli, but with a floral note. And so you can toss the broccoli flowers into green salads or grain bowls for added color and a mild flavor. You can use them for garnishes on like stir fries, pastas, or soups. And you can also lightly saute broccoli flowers with garlic and olive oil and serve as a side dish or incorporate them into omelets or frittatas. And so the recipes I found, you can just put them in with a mixed green salad with lettuce, arugula, sliced almonds, and a lemon vinaigrette. And you can also stir fry the broccoli flowers with garlic, soy sauce, sesame oil for a quick and tasty side dish. And for preserving the broccoli flowers, you can put them in the fridge in a plastic bag or airtight container, and they'll stay fresh for a few days. You can also blanch them for 1 to 2 minutes and then shock them in ice water, drain and freeze in an airtight container. And then these can be used directly in cooked dishes later on. And you can dry them and use them as a flavor enhancer in soups and stews. And so the next flower I have is I'm really into the vegetable flowers this week. I don't know why. Is okra flowers. And they are not only attractive with their pale yellow petals and deep red or purple centers, but they're also edible. And they have a mild, sweet flavor similar to the taste of okra pods, but with a more delicate texture. And they are an excellent addition to many dishes. Something just happened to my screen. I'm just going to check that. Oh, okay. I am still recording. I'm a little nervous now. Sorry, everyone. Like when I see something happen, I'm like, please don't let this happen again. But anyway, back to this. They have a mild sweet flavor similar to the taste of okra pods, but with a more delicate texture. And you can add them to salads. You can use them garnishes, and you can also make tempura with them by dipping the okra flowers in a light batter and frying them to make a crispy tempura, which can be a unique appetizer or side dish. And so for preserving them, it's kind of challenging because they are delicate. So it's really just best to use them immediately. And then I wanted to know if different varieties have different flavors. And so they do have subtle differences in flavor, although they generally maintain the characteristic of a mild and slightly grassy taste typical of okra. And so the next flower I'm going to talk about, I know nothing about. I've never grown it. It's on my list of edible flowers. I have this list, and then every week I'm like, I'm seeing this flower in my garden. I'm seeing that. And then I check if it's edible, and I'm finding out, well, like, wow, these things are edible. But this one, I just pulled it off the list, but I've never grown it. So maybe some of my listeners know about it, but it's the Rose of Sharon. And it's a perennial, and it's a flowering shrub that is part of the mallow family. And it's not actually a rose, but it gets its name from its rose-like flowers, which can be found in a variety of colors, including white, pink, red, and purple. And this plant is valued for its late summer bloom, providing color and vibrancy when many other shrubs have ceased blooming. And so some of the things you can do with it in culinary applications, of course, you can throw the petals into salad for a burst of color and a mild nutty flavor. The dried petals can be used to make an herbal tea, and the fresh flowers make a beautiful and edible garnish on desserts and cocktails. And so some of the recipes I found using Rose of Sharon are Rose of Sharon jelly, and you use the petals to make a delicate and floral jelly that pairs well with bread and pastries. You, of course, can put them in the salad, and you can steep the dried Rose of Sharon flowers in hot water to make a soothing tea. So for the preservation, you can dry them by spreading the petals on a paper towel and allowing them to dry in a warm, dark place, and then store them in an airtight container for use in teas or as culinary decorations. You can also freeze the fresh petals in ice cube trays filled with water for a decorative ice cube in your drink. And the jelly, you can use the petals to make jelly, which preserves their flavor and color effectively. So that, oh, and then I just wanted to touch up on a side note. In traditional medicine, the Rose of Sharon is used for its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. And so this is a perennial shrub. I'd actually like to find this and grow it. It's hardy from zones 5 through 9, and it's known for its ability to withstand cold winters and hot summers. So this looks like it'll survive the grand solar minimum. And so this is a popular choice with gardeners who are looking for reliable and attractive flowering shrubs. And so this next, I want to talk about fireweed now. And I'm excited to have this guy growing in my garden again. I used to have this in my garden in Ontario, and I just have him going again this year. But fireweed is a striking wildflower that thrives particularly in areas that have been cleared by fire, hence the name. And it's common in North America, particularly in the northern regions and throughout the boreal forests. And the plant features tall, slender spikes of vibrant pink to magneta flowers, making it a picturesque addition to any natural setting. And so for the culinary uses, the leaves and flowers of fireweed can be dried and used to make herbal teas known for its mild, sweet flavor. And the young shoots and leaves can be eaten raw in salads, while the flowers can be used as a garnish, adding color and subtle flavor. And the flowers are commonly used to make jellies and syrups with a light floral taste that captures the essence of the plant. So when you make the fireweed jelly, it's very beautifully colored and it pairs well with bread and pastries. If you make the fireweed tea, drying the leaves and flowers, it's soothing and can be enjoyed hot or cold. And for preserving it, you can hang the flowers and leaves in a dry, dark place to dry them out, and then put them in airtight containers for use in teas or as a culinary herb. You can freeze the flowers in ice cube trays for decorative ice cubes to use in your drinks. And you can also infuse, you can create vinegars by infusing the fireweed flowers in vinegar or oil. And so traditionally, the fireweed has been used for its medicinal properties, which are a digestive aid. It helps with minor digestive problems. And you can also use the leaves in poultices for their soothing properties on the skin. And so that is it. And now this next one I have growing in the garden, he's kind of gotten lost in the Jerusalem artichokes. I can't believe how much these Jerusalem artichokes are growing. They've gotten really big, but some Aster flowers are stuck in there with them. But asters are a popular flower that are known for their star-shaped flower heads, and they are perennials. And so they will have vibrant blooms that are in shades of blue, purple, white, and pink. And they typically flower from late summer to fall. And they provide color and life to gardens as many other plants begin to fade. And so for their edibility, they are more commonly used for decorative purposes in culinary settings, such as garnishes. And so fresh aster flowers can be used to garnish salads, desserts, and drinks, adding a splash of color and a mild floral flavor. And they can also be incorporated into edible flower arrangements for special occasions. And so the recipes, I just throwing them into salads. And then you can also freeze the flowers in ice cubes for putting them into your drinks. And it also will add a subtle floral hint. And to preserve them, you can hang the flowers upside down in a dry, dark place. And then the dried flowers can be used as a part of herbal blends. And you can also do sugar preservation. And individual petals can be candied or preserved in sugar. And so medicinally, they were used to treat various ailments such as headaches and muscle pains. So that's something to do good, blah, blah, blah. That's something that would be good to have as a dried tea, especially for gardeners, because what gardener doesn't get some muscle pains, right? Especially in the start of the season. And so asters are relatively easy to grow. And this next one, I am so excited about this flower. I really didn't think it was edible. This guy makes me so happy every night. I'm doing work in the day and it's been so hot inside, so I'm just feeling tired and sluggish, and after dinner I just don't feel like going outside, but I do. And I'm so glad I do every night, because the smell, like, it comes wafting down the stalks. The night scented stalks are so powerful. I can't believe I've never grown them before. And I have these guys growing in really poor soil. I actually wouldn't even call it soil. It's like they're growing in a bunch of rocks. When the goat fence was built, well, when the fence was built to keep the goats out of the one side of the garden, it was all dug up. And so what was left was this rocky clay sort of, it's not soil, but I had nowhere to put the stock flowers and I had to put them somewhere. And so as I go in my gate, I just had this area that was just all this gravel stuff that was dug up, and I threw them in there and I planted like 10 of them. Anyway, they're surviving. I know they're not growing the way they should because I saw, I think it was some video somebody made, a short, and they were standing by the stalks talking about how amazing, and it seemed like they can grow quite large. Well, mine are not, but they are still growing and they are sending the smell out so far and so powerful. And so I asked if they were edible, just to see, let's see if they're edible, and they are. And so they are popular in gardens for their delightful fragrance, and they come in a range of colors, including pink, white, red, and purple. And so they're favored for their dense clusters and their ability to bloom under cooler conditions, making them excellent choices for spring and autumn gardens. And I must say, they are also, they have an ability to grow in very poor soil. So anyway, the edibility, they can be used as garnishes, and their vibrant colors and pleasant fragrance makes them a perfect garnish for salads, desserts, and drinks. And you'd want to be utilizing those at night to get the smell. And the stock flowers can be used to infuse flavor into syrups, vinegars, and even spirits. And so some of the recipes I found, it's just the salad and then using fresh stock flowers to decorate cakes, pastries, for adding both color and a subtle fragrance. To preserve them, you can hang them upside down in a dry, dark place to dry them out completely. And then the flowers can be used as a part of decorative arrangements. And you can also candy them by preserving them with egg whites and superfine sugar to candy the petals, which can then be used to decorate desserts. And so that that is pretty much it. For, as always, remember, and with every flower I talk about, make sure you know where you're getting your flowers from. Like if you're in someone else's garden, just make sure you know if they've put chemicals on them, because you always want to use flowers that have not been treated with pesticides or chemicals. You only want to have safe for consumption flowers. And so this next flower, I'm surprised this guy's alive. I've actually, I think, had to bring him back from the brink of death like 3 times because he doesn't get watered very often. But then I'll see him just about dead and I'll go and truck some water over to him. But it's the Mexican sunflower. And so I noticed these like beautiful flowers. So, well, every one of my plants has now one flower on it. I'm sure they're going to start picking up because they're looking a little better now. But the Mexican sunflower is a vibrant, bushy annual that features large, bright orange or yellow flowers, and it's popular in ornamental gardens for its ability to attract butterflies and bees, and it thrives in warm climates. And the flowers of the Mexican sunflower are edible, although they're not as commonly used in cooking as some other edible flowers. And they have a neutral to slightly bitter taste and can be used as a colorful garnish in salads, desserts, or drinks. And you can use them in salads by sprinkling the petals over salads for a vibrant pop of color. You can use them as a garnish, putting the flowers on cakes, platters, or in cocktails. and the petals can be steeped in hot water to make a light tea. And so for preserving them, you can hang the flowers or lay them flat in a dry, warm place away from sunlight. And then they can be used in tea or in decorations. And you can also freeze them in ice cube trays. And so that is our show for today. I still have some flowers to go through. I don't think they're, well, every week I always think, oh, we're almost wrapping it up. And then I start asking about flowers I have in my garden, and I'm finding out they're edible. So who knows? Who knows when we're going to end this? But I hope everybody is enjoying their summer gardens and all the produce that's coming out of them, and maybe even the preservation of the foods that they are having come in. And so I will see you in the garden. Thank you for joining me for this episode of In the Garden with Susan. I hope you're enjoying the Flower Power series. And as we look at all the different edible flowers, you can find this podcast and others at Spotify, Podchaser, Radio Public. It's on my Rumble channel. It's on my YouTube channel. And you can always find it at my website at www.gardenfairybotanicals.ca. I look forward to chatting with you next week when we will continue on our journey through the edible flowers.